Hello, I'm Monsignor Jim Lisanti. Today on Personally Speaking, I'll be joined by actor Matt Bogart. Matt starred on Broadway in the long-running hit musical Jersey Boys. He's currently starring in the Off-Broadway James Joyce-inspired musical called Himself and Nora. He's here with us today to talk about his current role and his life and his journey to Broadway and the values that matter the most to him. Please stay with us. Hello and welcome to Personally Speaking. I'm your host, Monsignor Jim Lisanti, and actor Matt Bogart is with us. Matt grew up on a farm north of Dayton, Ohio. He's the oldest of 4 boys, and he went on to Broadway with leading roles in the Jersey Boys, Miss Saigon, and Aida. He plays Robert Goulet in the HBO series Vinyl and played JFK in the NBC series Smash. Matt currently stars as James Joyce in the Off-Broadway musical Himself and Nora. He's here with us today at the studio to talk about his life, his career, his marriage, his family, and the values that mean the most to him. Before we get to our interview, though, let's listen to Matt singing. This is called Land of Erin. It's from the new musical, Himself and Nora.
I've been torn in two by you men of black and white.
Blasphemy!
No, you betray me with guilt, you pretenders of the light. So I kneel in the rooms of the Torah looms. I buy a little love in the night. When you've lost land and tongue and you're tied to the low rung, there's only one way left you can fight. I tell you now, my friend, I will stand for the land of Erin. I tell you now, my friend, I will write and be free. I tell you now, my friend, when I stand for the land of Erin, someday, some way, she will stand for me.
Our guest is Matt Bogart. We're delighted to have him back on Personally Speaking. Matt, you are doing this wonderful show, Himself and Nora. Now, here's something that I want to ask you. I'm afraid a lot of people, when I tell them that it's a love story involving James Joyce, might well ask the question, who is James Joyce? Tell us who James Joyce is and what's this wonderful musical all about.
Well, James Joyce is a lover. I mean, what else could he be, considering all the very, drastic sexual innuendo that he puts in his writing? James Joyce is just a man, really. And I think that essentially that's a lot of what he wrote about was the fact that rebelling against the church, rebelling against what England was doing to Ireland at that time. And he felt that in his conscience, and he felt that he had to be a part of that march, and he did it through his writing.
Now, before you took on this role, were you a fan of Ulysses, a fan of Portrait of an Artist? Were you a Joyce fan?
Certainly a Joyce fan. I can't say that I was very well versed or read, and I still feel like I'm not, unfortunately. But I think that's what's great about Joyce is that you're like a student for life when it comes to that, in the same way that you might feel about Shakespeare. Shakespeare has a huge lexicon of words that he made up and that are Old English, possibly, that we don't understand or we don't hear in our vernacular. And same goes for Joyce. He made up many, many words. I think about 23,000 words are in his lexicon, which some of which were made up, of course, in the context of whatever he's writing about, and also words that are hyphenated words that make sense to the Dublin ear, to the Irish ear.
We had Dr. Erwin Geisman from Fordham who taught us a course on Joyce, and he said to us, even at the end of the semester, you'll only have scratched the surface. Yeah. So there was a genius mind there. Now, why?
That's one of Joyce's quotes.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think he says something to the effect of, for centuries, professors will try to figure out the form of Ulysses, and I wish them luck.
And without success.
Yeah.
We had, years ago, John Knowles wrote a separate piece, and when he came to speak at the film, a professor of English got up and said, now the tree in that story means, and John Knowles said, interpreting trees is for English high school professors. It was not very kind.
Well, yeah, that's very difficult. I mean, because, there's symbolism in everything, and
Absolutely.
If you look for it, you'll see it.
Matt Bogart is our guest. I'm hoping our listeners, especially those coming to New York, will have a chance to watch himself and Nora. What got you into this?
I have a long history with this show.
Okay.
11 years ago, I auditioned for it.
Wow.
For the Old Globe in San Diego, a main stage production there. And I booked it, and I've been working on it ever since with our writer, Jonathan Brielle, who wrote the book, music, and lyrics. And it's been an amazing journey because throughout that period of time, we've had three main stage productions, many readings, basically to work on the production and fine-tune it. And we brought the show just basically as a reading to the James Joyce Festival in Dublin and presented it there, which they don't usually get musicals. But so it was a really interesting thing to bring to town. And I was really under the microscope with my accent, of course, so that was scary. But we had a great time. We learned a lot by being there. We had an Irish director who is a local director there help us out with it. And throughout the years, we did the New York Musical Theater Festival production. And then we also did a production at the Hamilton Stage in Rahway, New Jersey, of all places. But they treated us really well. We learned a lot. We put it together. And ever since then, Jonathan has been really gung-ho about having it come here to this city, and I think this is a perfect venue for it.
You are deeply committed to the show, aren't you?
I have been. I just feel lucky to be involved, certainly with Jonathan, because, first of all, he's just got an amazing heart. I love him so much, and he's an amazing collaborator to work with, for me at least, and he's been incredibly respectful to me, and of course, an actor and a person is always looking for that kind of connection.
Matt Bogart, when he isn't acting, goes home, and I'm going to tell you a history, Matt. You and I, when we talked years ago on the show, I said, do you live well with the fact that sometimes you work and sometimes you may not? And you said at the time, it has been slow for a while, and I now have wife and expected child. Now, since then, you have 2 children.
Congratulations. We've moved to the next level, haven't we?
You really have, But you live in this business where it can be a feast or famine. How do you deal with that?
Well, I stay in Jersey Boys for 7.5 years. I was so lucky to have gotten Jersey Boys, and that was right around the time that we became pregnant with our first child. So I stuck with it, and our lives have changed and been amazing for me to support my family and to have my wife Jessica Bogart, who is an amazing actress and done many Broadway shows, but she's kind of put that on hold to give that life to our children, and we get to spend time at home with our children, and then I go to work at night. So it's been a really great journey for us, and now we have a 7 and a 5-year-old. So.
Now, Matt, when you have children of your own, does that give you any kind of a deeper appreciation for what your parents had to handle with 4 boys?
Of course. But I also think that they were somewhat insane to even try that. I mean, clearly, it's very difficult just to juggle 2, let alone 4 crazy people.
Yeah, and the oldest brother was Matt Bogart.
That's true. Yes.
What kind of role model were you? Did the other boys look up to you a lot?
I guess they did. I think they did because all of them went to college to be actors.
Okay.
My brother Daniel lives here in the city still and was an actor and did Les Mis on Broadway, among other things. And and he's now a teacher actually at a school here in the city, the Columbia School. My brother Dominic is still an actor and lives in L.A. and he did musicals for a long time. As a matter of fact, he did Jersey Boys before I did, and he's in L.A. and he's got a movie coming out this summer called Birth of a Nation, and. My brother Kevin was an actor for a little bit in college, but gave that up, and now he's a singer-songwriter in Portland, Oregon. So we're all over the country.
All over the country, but one of the common themes is this incredible love for music. So where did that come from?
Gosh, we have my family is musical, but they don't do it as a career, of course.
Okay.
But I think mainly it's a couple of high school teachers that we had that were very influential in our lives, kind of opening up the shells that we lived in a way, because we grew up on a horse farm in Ohio, livestock farm, 80 acres, and, working on mini bikes and trucks and
singing to the
motorcycles and things like that, and horses, and racing horses and all that kind of thing, taking them to the fair. We were all in 4-H for like 12 years.
Right.
So that was a very different kind of life, and here we are in the big city, and because of these teachers who opened up this incredible world to us, we've really walked into it and loved it, although, despite the identity crisis that we might have.
So Mom and Dad were not leaders of song?
My mom was. She was involved in a community theater.
Okay.
Yeah, and played,
so
the
maybe she gave the gift?
Yeah, and she sang in church and made us sing in church too.
Wow, okay. Oh, perfect segue.
Against our will, but
This Catholic priest has there. So tell us about growing up in church.
I am thankful that I have a background
Yeah.
With the Catholic Church. I can't say that I'm necessarily practicing, but I do realize that there are many ways to get to God or spirituality.
Are you liking this Pope Francis?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely very. It has a lot of views that, of course, we'd like to see put in place.
Yeah, I have to say it's wonderful to be in New York and to have people of no faith or other faiths say, I really like this guy who's your Pope.
Yeah,
finally. Because he's living with Jesus. He's living the real deal.
Yeah.
It was Stephen Schwartz we had in once who said, I said, why would you do Godspell if you're a secular Jew? And he said, you don't have to be Christian to know the world would be a better place if we actually lived by the teachings of Jesus,
Exactly.
And that's how you feel, too. Tell me, when
we're all made in God's image, we might as well treat each other as though we're godly.
What an idea.
Right?
How radical is that, right?
That's easy.
Please stay with us. We'll be back with more of our interview with the actor Matt Bogart, who's currently starring in the Off-Broadway musical Himself in Nora, in just a moment. Before we return to our interview with Matt, though, let's listen to him sing again. This is a beautiful version of Simple Song, which comes from Bernstein's Mass.
Sing God a simple song, louder, louder. Make it up as you go along, louder, louder. Sing like you like to sing. God loves all simple things, for God is the simplest of.
Joining me now, I'm pleased to welcome to Personally Speaking, actor and singer Matt Bogart. Now, I want to ask you this, speaking of love, since that's what your play is about. Every weekend I get to do weddings. I'll do 2 or 3 this weekend. And one of the things I do for the couple is say, I need an essay from you on why of all the people in the world you could marry, why is this the one?
This is so interesting that you do that.
I do that, and it's fascinating to me, and then I base the homily on that. If I had tripped into you and Jessica and I asked you to do the same, what would you have said about Jessica? Why is she the one?
Because... Oh, boy. Walking on eggshells. No.
Yeah, be careful.
No, Jessica and I met at the University of Cincinnati, and we were in the same acting classes and everything. And so one thing that is amazing about our relationship is that we have been longtime friends before we became lovers.
Right.
And before we became married. And she challenges me, and she's from a different world too. Obviously I'm the farm boy, and she grew up in North Shore, Chicago, and grew up in the theater. And she challenged me to get engaged, get married, and have children. Which is something I was putting on the back burner for a long time while I was having my career. But I'm so happy that I've done it and that she pushed me, and she is an amazing mother, and I'm so happy that we are together and doing this on this journey together.
And she obviously has in her heart a whole lot of selfless love if she can decide, I will put aside career for the sake of our children and allowing you to shine.
I guess so. Yes. I mean, she does support me in whatever I do. Obviously, I'm leaving a great job to come to do this very artful Off-Broadway job, and she supports me in that, and she was very much looking forward to having children and also moving into a new career beyond acting, which is teaching and directing. She has a master's from NYU in theater education.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that might be surprising is that Matt Bogart has been around for a long time. He's done so many plays. I saw him 100 years ago in Miss Saigon, and
that's right.
I mentioned that to you because while you are still scary in shape, what do you make in this youth culture of ours? Thank you. What do you make of the youth culture versus the process of aging? Does the process of aging in any way bother Matt Bogart?
Not at all. I have a great spirit, and I've been feeling like really energized, and I feel as young as ever doing a new show like I am, and certainly, all these things running through me, trying to create and live James Joyce also.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Doing a new project. I mean, that's, after being in Jersey Boys for quite a while, I've needed that. So I'm really like living on that high right now.
I had to see you 4 times in that play because every tourist that I brought in from out of town would say, we have to see Jersey Boys.
It's solid, right? It's solid. My guys.
That's another
They're all
perfect
coming to
segue.
opening night, my guys,
I hope they are. They coming to your play? Good. Well, let's go to that endless experience and time in theater. When I go to see you guys do what you do, whether it's in that play or in other plays, I'm always amazed that, I feel the energy you guys put out, and it's remarkable, but I can't even imagine. I do a Mass on Sunday, I give it all, but it's an hour and a half out of the week. 8 times a week you guys are getting up there to do your thing, whether it's Joyce or Jersey Boys. Where do you find the ability to say, tonight, even though I'm tired, I have things in my mind, I'm going to give 110% for the person from Dubuque, Iowa, who's never seen a Broadway play before, but is coming to see you?
Yeah. I mean, if the priests can do it, I can do it, right? No, it's in a way, it's sort of the same thing. But I do feel an onus to the audience, obviously, because they've paid great money to come and see a story, which is, sit down together, very communal, in the dark together, which is an ancient but still a very interesting experience and idea.
Yeah.
In human culture, but I do it to honor the piece that we're portraying and the story that we're telling. I love telling stories, and I enjoy singing music, and in a way, I look at it. Growing up, I was also an athlete, and I look at it almost as that, like this is somewhat an athletic pursuit in that you're putting that much energy into something and trying to stay as healthy as possible doing those 8 shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're home at the end of the night, can you go right to bed, or are you too pumped?
I don't have any problem falling asleep
anywhere
at any time.
That's
especially since I've had kids. But I can even have a cup of coffee, and I'm like, it's time for a nap. But
I said to one of my young couples, I said, "Are you guys on birth control?" And they said, "We have children now. We don't need it." Anytime you see a pillow, you grab it and go to sleep. And that's again something else I wanted to talk about. You and your wife have a specific set of values and things that are important to you. Have you got any insight yet, Matt, into how do you, as dad, as parent, how do you best communicate values that matter to you to these children you love?
It's still a complicated answer for me. We're figuring it out because my wife grew up with a Jewish mother and a Christian father.
Okay.
And I grew up in Catholic background.
Right.
Went to Catholic church for, all my life, Catholic school for 12 years.
Okay.
And as I said, I'm not practicing, but I think that certainly religion can supply values, obviously. But I think giving ethics and values to our children simply comes out of our living the example.
Yeah.
Living the example. You can tell them as many times as you want
Right.
how to act, how to do something. They'll hear it on one level, but I think that they really do watch And I do think that that's the most important thing, is just live the way you would like them to become.
So it's not about do this, don't do that, as much as they watch mom and dad and how they live and are formed and shaped by the values you live yourself.
Yeah, and how you speak to each other, how you treat each other as, mom and dad and parents. They see that. They see the love. It gets transferred. They treat my boys treat each other that way. That's what I see happening. And we are introducing all kinds of religions to them.
Yeah.
Mainly Catholic and Jewish at this point, but we're open to other things, and hopefully they will see. Like I said, there are many ways to get to the same place.
Yeah. We have many weddings on Long Island that are Catholic Jewish, and one of the things we do after the child is born is we have the rabbi and the priest bless the child together.
Great.
And the kids sometimes say as they grow, well, what's the difference? Well, mommy's Jewish, she thinks the Messiah's coming, and the Christian thinks the Messiah's already here. And they say, what are the differences? And there aren't too many. The Golden Rule is the same. The Ten Commandments are the same. Our ethics and morality is so similar. So I think you have a good combo there.
That's what we're trying. We're hoping. We got our fingers crossed on a lot of things, but we'll deal with them as we need to. And
the question that people sometimes...
We take advice, too, if you have any.
Yeah, well, I'll give it gladly. People say, would you do this if... Looking back with the mountaintop experiences of great success in theater, but also the valleys when times are not so wonderful, would you do the acting again?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty incredible experience and journey. From where I came from, being a farm boy who mumbled, and
is that true?
Yeah, and learning that there's another world out there where people are telling stories and investigating the human condition, as we say. And I really find it fascinating because it's endless. And I love being a student of life and learning from all the different people that we meet on different jobs. Not only that, but traveling. I get to travel to great places and see great things in between the jobs or while I'm doing the jobs. And when I did Himself and Nora in San Diego, that was probably one of my favorite.
Yeah, what's not to like, right?
Amazing town, amazing beaches, amazing food, So, but I think I might do it again, despite all the
He's
hardship.
a glutton for punishment, but he loves it.
But I've been a very lucky guy in that I've done a mixture of a lot of commercial theater and then a lot of the regional theater and new works and things like that. So I've had a very mixed career. I sure could afford to do a lot more original shows and make those steps up that ladder. But I really have enjoyed the journey for the most part.
You had an experience years ago. Matt Bogart's our guest, and Matt Bogart is someone in a play called Himself and Nora. I hope our listeners will come to see it. But you had an experience years ago of doing a piece that you loved, which was about the Civil War, and the audiences didn't come enough. I mention that to you because when you put your heart and soul into something and they don't come, what do you feel?
Well, it's been a while because I did Jersey Boys for so long.
Yeah,
but,
that was massively successful.
No, it's right? I think that we, especially that show, we had a lot of pride about our work and about the kind of songs and messages we were saying. I think that that didn't affect us too much until we didn't win the Tony for Best Musical, and then we knew that we were going to have some hard times coming. So, but yeah, I think it depends on the piece, and it depends on I guess the morale of the whole experience and the company. If people aren't showing up, then that's a bummer, of course.
Right.
No producer wants to see that either.
So please come and see Himself and Nora.
That's right. Down at the Minetta Lane.
Yes,
in Greenwich Village. It's really cool down there. Lots of amazing food and everything else.
We had a show a while ago with Drew Brees. And I said to him, Drew, you're the successful football player and you have money and success and popularity. Are you ever inclined, when you're on the road, to be unfaithful to your beloved Brittany?
Oh, my goodness.
How about that?
What kind of question is that?
It was a good one. It was a good one because he said, I ruined my shoulder for a while and everyone thought I was finished. And my wife, for 1 year in bed, would keep her hand on my shoulder because I was pulling out staples and hurting my shoulder. He said, you don't jeopardize something like that. You're in a world where people are telling you all the time, you're good, you're talented, you're good looking, all that stuff. what grounds you? There's an article I read about you, Matt.
Just
where
Michael Riedel. That's all. Only Michael Riedel is walking up to me and saying,
I explained to Matthew before the show that the wonderful writer, Michael Riedel, had just been on our show and said how wonderful Matt Bogart is. So there's someone on your side right away telling you how good you are.
That's a good one to have on my side.
Well, but here's what I'm asking you. There's a wonderful article about you that says this guy has remained incredibly down to earth. So I'm wondering, when they're blowing smoke up your dress, how does Matt say, I'm not really buying the smoke. I'm going to go with what lasts. I'm going to go with the things I believe in. I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to not buy my press.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, sure, there's flattery here and there. I don't know that it's too much smoke up my dress, but I do feel that I'm just a Midwest guy who's coming into town to sing some songs, and I know who I am for the most part. But I enjoy the journey of adding to that and changing and evolving into someone who's accepting of the world and what it has to offer, and certainly what theater has brought me to. Being in the arts is something that enriches lives, and we will always bring that to our children, regardless of the shortcomings of the kind of societal things that we see. Not as many arts programs in schools or things like that. So I think Jess and I in years past have thought, boy, we really hope that our kids are not going to be actors, but seeing. Living up in the suburbs, we just moved a couple of years ago, we feel otherwise. We feel like the arts is what brings a child's, the best characteristics of a child forward.
My final question for Matthew Bogart. Matt, if you, I hope, live a long life, that's great. But if tomorrow the man upstairs,
wow,
the man took you home.
You're taking me out already.
I'm taking you out already. And God looks you in the eyes and he says, does he say, Matt, well done.
I sure hope he does. I hope it's a good review.
I want our listeners all around the country. You come to New York, it's truly the capital of the world, and you're going to go see Hamilton. They don't need your support, but himself and Nora does. So come see a great musical about the life of James Joyce and his wonderful love experience with Nora, and get to see Matt Bogart, who's a wonderful actor and singer, and I hope you've learned today a very, very decent human being, too. A wonderful dad, a wonderful husband, and just a good Ohio guy who's had success but not let it go to his head. He's a good man. He's a talented man. Come and see him in himself and Nora. Matt, thanks for being on our show.
Thank you, Jim.
As we end today's program, I want to thank you all for being with us. If you have any questions or comments about the show, you can send them to me through my website, which is MonsignorLasante.org, MSGRLISANTE.org. Or to listen to past Personally Speaking episodes, you can go to www.closeencountertv.com. That's all one word, closeencountertv.com, and click on the radio button at the top of the page. Please be sure to visit that site and encourage other people, your family and friends, to do that as well. I'm privileged to serve as host and executive producer of Personally Speaking. Our producer is Lisa Jandovitz, our engineer is Brian Bonifacio, and our audio facility is Creative Audio Post in New York City. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be with you again next time on Personally Speaking.